Okay. Okay. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. So we are going to be doing our systems and tools for remote working webinar. This is being recorded as well. So if you've signed up and you haven't joined us yet, or you signed up to get the recording later, then that will be going out shortly as well once we're done. Any questions, then by all means pop them in the Q&A. I guess a little bit of housekeeping. You should have a bar along the bottom of your Zoom, which will have Q&A as an option. And yeah, you should be able to just type in any questions in there. Please use the Q&A function if you've got anything, and I will go through them and answer them as well at the end, or if they're relevant, I'll try and do them if I see them while we're doing the webinar as well. And ultimately, this webinar today, we're going through systems and tools for remote working, setting you up for that kind of success, what things you need to consider, what apps we recommend, and what apps, for the most part, we use ourselves as well. And just getting a wider kind of idea, because I know remote working, there's a vast majority of our clients and freelancers and small businesses that do this already. But there's going to be a huge more who are, this is a new realm for them. This is brand new. This is the first time they are having to do this, and it's a different way of working. They might not have the system set up. They might be using the apps that aren't cloud-based or whatever it might be. So the idea behind today is to really just kind of go through kind of some best practices, some things to consider, tips and tricks, those kind of things. We will be doing, if you have any questions about government measures for coronavirus, self-employed, employees, all that kind of stuff, feel free to pop them in. We are doing that in further detail with his own webinar on Thursday 26th, so 2 days from now, so not tomorrow, but the day after. And that is also at 2 p.m. And that one is going to be primarily about all the different measures, what the grants mean, what SSP means, what relief is for self-employed people. There is going to be some more self-employed measures put in for, as announced by Rishi Sunak, but it's not ready yet at the time, and it might not be ready by the time we do the webinar on Thursday, but we will do an update. We'll send out more info and stuff like that. During this time, we have a help center set up. It is wearecone.com/coronavirus, nice and original. And basically, that is where we're collating and updating all the information that we come across, basically, and anything that is worthwhile. If there's anything you think we've missed or anything that you think would be worth putting up, highlighting, or putting that clearer, then by all means do let me know as well. Always open to improvements. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be going through systems and tools for remote working. Obviously, this is recorded as well, so if you're joining in as we are getting started now, then you've literally just missed the intro. I'm just explaining what we're doing today. So there's no, like I said, you can always grab the recording afterwards and catch up with that if you need to, but it's literally just been a couple of minutes of getting started. So if we just move to the next slide, and we'll get started with this. So who are Cone? Who am I? So basically, we're Cone Accounting. My name is Ben Necker. I founded Cone Accounting in April 2015. We work with small businesses, creatives, e-commerce, and basically everyone's been affected small business wise, with this recent coronavirus. And so it's a difficult time for everyone, us included. A lot of our clients have been affected. We have some clients that are lucky that they're not affected as much, but I think everyone, it's safe to say, has been affected in some way, whether that's a supplier, their customers, themselves directly. It will have a ripple effect across all industries, and it's just one thing to know that we're not alone in this. We are here in it together. So what we're going to learn today, we're going to go through how to approach remote working in your business. Like I said, some of you might be doing this already. Some of you, this might be brand new. This might be fresh to you, and you previously had an office, or you've always gone in day to day. And this isn't geared entirely to self-employed people. It could be applicable to employed people as well. But I am going to go through systemizing and processes, some apps that you can use to help set that up. So, you know, from an employee perspective, it might not be in your remit or your ability to, you know, you might not be in that decision process to set up those tools. But if you are an employee listening today, then you can always take some thoughts and things from this and see what the business owner thinks and go from there as well. One important part of remote working is setting your team and yourself up for success, what that looks like. And we're also going to look at some important apps to have as part of your app stack, as we call them, your apps map. Basically, a lot of the apps we already use, they thrive in a remote working environment. We've been doing this almost 5 years now, and with a team for 3 years. So it's basically we've basically tested a lot of systems out there, a lot of apps that are working and stuff. A lot of them do have trials or free plans. Some of them have extended trials over this period as well. So it might not be uncommon to see 2 or 3 month trials now, where previously it was a month or 14 days perhaps. So it's definitely worth checking them out and seeing. But I appreciate you don't want to add tons of paid apps onto your monthly outgoings at the moment, with your with income potentially being affected as well. So seeing what's worked for you. It's not like, oh, you have to go out and buy all of these. We're not affiliated with any of these either. We are partners with some of them, but we don't get any kickback or any commissions or anything like that. And I'll let you know if that's the case in terms of whether we're a partner or not. Normally that just means that we are better trained with that software as well, from our own point of view, and helping that with our clients. But yeah, there's no seller affiliation here or anything like that. No hashtag ad. So like I said, any questions throughout, then you should have the Q&A button. You can feel free to just click on that, type in your question, and as we go, I will go through and answer them if I spot them. If I don't, we'll get to them at the end as well. So just dump them in there and we can go through that as well. We're also going to go through how to get the most out of these apps and what they're best used for, basically. And they're going to be brief overviews as well. They're not going to be demos for each one or stuff like that. But just give you an idea of what apps we're kind of talking about and which ones you should be considering potentially during this time. So remote working considerations, one of the main thing here is communication, and that's across the board. That's with your team, that's with your family, it depends on your environment. You know, if you're living alone, if you're living with housemates, if you've got your family with all your kids as well and they're off school at the moment, or if you're a designated key worker and they're still at school, you're still going to have communication in terms of what is that going to look like in your home right now, especially if you're new to remote working. This is now suddenly a space where you're used to going out during the day, doing your work, coming back, and that's then your living time. That's your personal time. Now this is your in during the day working, and you've got to make sure you've got that environment right. This is also with your clients and customers too. Having those communications skills, apps in place, all those kind of things, making sure that nothing's being missed. So what I mean by that is that if you're working with a team and all your team's working from home right now, because I appreciate we've got probably people with us on this webinar who are running the business themselves, running the business with a small team, running the business with a medium to large team, talking 10 members or more of staff really. We've got people who are the employees of that business. They're not the business owners themselves, but they are now remote working, and that's like, oh great, what do I do with this? And basically there's I said the people on their own, isn't there? Yeah, and the people on their own as well who are running the business, one woman bands, all that kind of stuff. So if you have a team, then it's really clear knowing who is doing what projects need to be done, what jobs need to be done. If you're still working like normal, but you're just doing this remote because maybe you're service based, like for instance we are, so we can still do a lot of the stuff that we normally do because we work from home anyway. If you're fortunate to be in that position, then it's just about management, job delegation, making sure your team are all clear with what needs to be met, what deadlines you're prioritizing on. And we can use tools like Slack for this. We can use tools like if you've got a CRM system or a job management system, Depends on the type of business, but you can use those tools to make sure that everyone's on the same page. With your clients and customers, this is a great time to just put yourself out there, whether that's with mailers and keeping your clients and customers up to date with, are you still open? Are you still providing your service as normal? Let them know. Don't let them guess. Don't let them assume whether you are or not. Make it clear. We are still open. We are still able to deliver this. Bear in mind, it may be an extra day turnaround, or we're going to be swamped at the moment. Open that communication with that client. And if there's any clients you feel are really, or customers that you feel are going to be affected by this, or you're selling a product, maybe e-commerce, you might be doing your batches, your shipments in batches now. So delivery may take longer. Let them know that. Maybe see what you can do in terms of whether you're doing promo codes to encourage people to come back later, those different things like that. Your marketing is going to be key here, in terms of just keeping everyone up to date with what you are doing. Don't get that wrong though with, let me just go back quick. Don't get that confused with selling though. It's not that you shouldn't be selling. You should still be selling if you can and your service provides it. We're still having sales calls with people who still need accountants and all that kind of stuff. So that still happens, right? But don't try and leverage the current climate to get an upper hand, because it's going to affect your brand in the long run. If you can help people now, if you can put content out there, if you can help people now, that is brand recognition. That is love for the brand. That is love for your business in the long run. Being supportive for your customers during this time, they're already paying you, or they're loyal followers of you already. Utilize that. Be there for them during this time. They will continue then to support you when we're on the other side of this, because coronavirus, this is going to end. It's going to have a point where it's going to finish, and you want to be on the other side of that, and with as many of your customers and clients still with you as possible, and being able to continue doing that support. So that's a real key thing there. We want to utilize apps and software to help. So we want to make sure that you're not just adding apps for the sake of it. You're not just bringing in things that are nice, shiny, and new. You want to make sure that they are coming to solve a purpose, they're going to plug a gap, they're going to help you with remote working. Just beware, not everything is going to run out of the box. So some things need setup, especially if you're changing like a CRM system, or you're even setting up an accounting system. That's going to need some tweaking, but you may find that at the moment you have more time on your hands to focus a bit more on the business rather than working in the business. And you can actually put some of the things that you've maybe been putting off for a while, you can then put them into action, because again, coronavirus is going to finish. So when you're on the other side of that, if you've already done some of these key tasks that you've been meaning to do for ages, that shore up some of your inefficiencies, or just gets one of your processes a little bit slicker, then that's a win all around, really. So yeah, I kind of just touched on that there as well. This can be a time to create your process for your business as well. But probably one of the most important things, and this is both a consideration for your team and a consideration for yourself. And I think personally been here as well. And I think members of our team have, and I know other people who remote work, and this has affected it as well. Mental health and isolation and loneliness. Working from home, especially on a lockdown, it can be difficult. Especially, it might be a little bit different because, like I said, you might have the kids off, you might have your partners at home as well. You and your housemates might all be back. Depends on your arrangement, but there is, with remote working, even outside of the coronavirus, we always normally recommend you mix up your scenery. So whether that's working in your dedicated kind of office space, whether you're going down, sitting at the dining table and working for a little bit, normally we recommend pop out to a local coffee shop or something, support them while you're co-working as well, or whatever it might be. Go to a co-working space, that kind of stuff. Obviously, those bits, they are currently on lockdown, so not recommended to do that at the moment. But it's really clear that if you kind of switch off from the outside world and you start to isolate yourself, you will get into that trap of loneliness, sports, all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that you are keeping engaged, that you are essentially, because it's a difficult topic to cover, because there are so many people with different things they're going through as well, and you never know what's affecting them. So be there for your team, be there for other members of your family as well. It's a great time to speak up for anything as well, and if you are struggling, let us know. Let your other business owners know, your friends that you work with or who are running businesses as well. They're probably going through a similar thing right now. We're all in it together. And yeah, it's one of these things where, especially if you're on your own, it can be definitely harder. But having your team there, or having whether it's your business partner, whether that's like just people that you're generally working with, or just getting on the phone and having a chat with your customers, your clients, just seeing how they're doing. Whether that's virtually on a call, or whether that's like an Instagram Messenger or something, whatever it might be, getting into the right positive mindset and, overcoming not mental health in general, but just making sure you're trying not to stay as isolated as possible. Still try and have that social interaction despite social distancing and the lack of being able to go out co-working and stuff. But it's for your team especially, it's checking in on them, making sure that they're all good, how they're feeling, what concerns, what things are they struggling with at the moment. Could be personally, could be within the business, like there's something that they are struggling with within the process or something like that. This is all good things for you to know as well. So onto that, with communication and team well-being, from a remote working aspect, personally, you need to take breaks. You need to make sure that you're not sat at your desk working, eating your lunch. Take that break, take that lunch break, almost as if you're employed. Take that 1 hour lunch break. I know some people have that culture that they don't, that like, oh, they always take a working lunch or they can never stop, especially while you're at home. You don't want to end up having all your meals and doing all your work, and then in the evening you're watching Netflix or playing games or whatever, and you're also still at the same day. Mix it up, move it around, take those regular breaks, take your lunch, take breaks here and there, and just clear it out. Just have like I said, you don't want to be just cooped up at your desk constantly all day. And that goes on to having a dedicated space that you can go to, whether that's just setting up a desk in the corner where you can then just have your laptop and stuff all set up. And you can, like I said, you can move around the house as when you need to change scenery and search inspiration and stuff like that. But yeah, try not to just sit there in bed constantly, just on your laptop, eating and not having any breaks, because you're just going to end up getting into a rut. And changing the scenery is going to be really, really key there. For instance, what I have is I have my work desk, where obviously all the work stuff happens. But sometimes I'll go down to the dining room. Sometimes I'll just sit on the sofa for a bit and do some stuff there. I've got 2 monitors, so when I need to do like more focused work, I will be up here. But it lets me get into that kind of remit of being able to just move around a bit. And like I said, normally in normal circumstances, you can also pop to your local coffee shop, co-working spaces, that kind of stuff too. Go meet up with your other business friends and work with them too, and all that kind of stuff as well. The second point, check in on your team. So using tools like 15Five to keep up to date with employees. So we use 15Five in our business to basically see how all our employees are doing. They rate it. The idea is that it's 15 minutes for them to complete and 5 minutes for the manager to review at the end of each week. The idea is that the employee needs to answer that truthfully. So if they had a shit week, they'll put 1 out of 5, or 2 out of 5 maybe. If they had a great week, or it was okay, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, etc. The idea is that it's called a pulse score, and it's seeing how they are mentally, as well as how they're getting on with workload. Is their workload too stressful? Have they got too much on? Have they had like problems personally, or has a client said something to them, or have they messed up, or whatever it could be? That's the time. It's perfect time to put it down, and it basically lets me just see how they're getting on that week, how they're feeling, what place are they in. having something like that set up, they do a free trial. Like I said, I don't know if they're doing an extension of a free trial or not. I haven't checked that with these things, but I know a lot of apps are like doing extended free trials recently, so you can check it out. But you can even do something like a Google form where you just set it up and just send, that's free. And you can just you don't get all the reporting and analytics with it and the prompts and stuff, but you could just set it up so it's like a weekly thing that goes out, even like a MailChimp to your team or something, just a weekly survey or something that just goes out and just says, hey, just quickly fill this in, and literally just gives you an idea of how they're getting on. It's an invaluable tool. We've used it since day one when we first took on the team, and it's been really insightful to see how people are getting on, basically, what support they need. We build this into then our one-to-ones and our quarterlies and all that kind of stuff as well, and those can then be done by Zoom, which we're going to get onto on the last point. But having that dialogue and communication with how your team are doing or how your business partners are doing, you can do this with each other as well. You could both fill in and review each other's ones if you're like 50-50 partners or whatever. It's just good stuff to have there, where you can basically be on the same page. Tools like Slack, Notion, WhatsApp. For instance, we use Slack for all our kind of internal communications and messages and things like that instead of email. Slack's a bit like a messenger service if you haven't used it before, and you can have different Slack communities and everyone can be kind of in that one place. We have Notion, which is kind of like a blank slate, but basically you can build processes in there, you can put things together. That has a free plan. I think both of these are free plans actually, and basically Notion just allows you to be able to, whether that's creating sales funnels, handbooks, whatever it might be, you can basically create it in Notion. It's really, really, really flexible. And then WhatsApp, we use WhatsApp with some of our clients. We also have a Cone team WhatsApp. So, that's where the kind of more lighthearted banter and chats and stuff happen. Anything like newsworthy or just, oh, look at this meme or whatever. That's just kind of the fun stuff in there as well. But there's alternatives to this. Like if you're an Office 365 user, then you might have Microsoft Teams, which is like Slack. You might want to use Facebook Messenger instead of WhatsApp or whatever. It's there's these aren't necessarily the one app that can only be used, but these are just some of the ones that we use essentially in this basis. And depending on, like I said, depending again on teams, or if you're doing this with someone else, or if you're doing this solo, having like weekly stand-ups, daily calls, perhaps doing your training, you can do all of this still virtually via Zoom or using something like Google Hangouts. So you're on a Zoom webinar right now. Zoom, if you haven't used it before, also do you can do one-to-one calls, you can do group calls, and basically it's a similar thing. You kind of click on the link, you join it because someone's hosted it, and you've then got your video call meeting. We do a lot of our training sessions with our clients on here. We do our team training on here as well. We have weekly stand-ups and stuff like that as well. So again, leveraging tools like Zoom is just going to be really useful for you in terms of still being able to have those calls. And like I said, you don't have to have your video on. You can use it just as an audio call if you want. But you can, like I said, you can use it in a variety of different ways with your customers and externally, or with your team members internally. And this is a great time to look at your systems and processes as well. You may have a little bit more time on your hands if you've seen a little bit of a drop in sales or revenue, perhaps. This isn't the time to sit and then worry or get upset about what you're going to do. Like I said, if you're going into this with the mindset, and there is going to be, like I said, government support expected from self-employed, and obviously employees are covered with their if they need to be laid off, they can be furloughed and get 80% of their wages paid by the government. So things that can be done short term to see your business through this. This is ultimately what the government's trying to make sure, that as many businesses at the end of this have survived. And this is a great time for you to look at invoicing, look at the bottlenecks with your data entry, receipt management, staff management, payments. How are you getting paid by your customers? Have you noticed anything wrong with how you were taking payments before? Now that you're in this crisis, have you noticed anything with your bookkeeping or your staff management that you didn't think of before, but now something like the coronavirus has come along and opened that, like, oh, great, I didn't actually have a central place for my team to update me when they're feeling ill or something like that, or like a nice centralized location, or I don't know how to track that, or what I need to be doing, or to give my accountant the payroll details, all that kind of stuff. So if there's anything where you're looking at and you're thinking, that's causing me difficulty or that's causing me issues, then it's well worth having a look and seeing what you can do to improve those processes. So create your app stack. Here's just a little snapshot of some of the most popular apps. Some of these I've given for balance, like Xero, Free Agent, and QuickBooks. They are all pretty similar. You can use either or. We predominantly use Xero, but obviously QuickBooks and Free Agent are options as well. We've got Starling and Revolut as virtual bank accounts, TransferWise for currency, and a few others here that we're going to go through as well. But basically, not all of these apps link together directly. Like, not everyone has a link with each other, but there are notable links between them in terms of things where efficiency can be built. So for instance, if a client wants to book in a call, they book in through Calendly, sends it to my Google kind of calendar and Drive and all that kind of stuff. They can then fill in the type form, and we can then go and have that Zoom call and everything like that. We get notified on Slack when that happens. And so you can have things linked in to create a process, to create a trigger, tracking your mileage. 15.5 we've already talked about with the employee kind of welfare and how they're getting on. So it's really, really, really worth having a look. It's not to say to go out and subscribe to all of these. These are just some ones that we use and we recommend. But basically look at where you're currently having to deal with your with issues in your business. All of these are browser based and they can all be accessed online. So they're all friendly for remote working, friendly for teams, and can easily be used as well. So accounting, obviously I've already kind of touched on this: Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent. There's others as well, QuickBooks Cash Flow, all those kind of things as well. Having something on an accounting side of things, obviously as an accountant, I'm gonna drop this in. I'm gonna mention this. Having the data in something like this and it being up to date would allow you right now to be able to put together a cash flow forecast, to be able to see how your cash flow is going to be looking over the next couple of weeks by updating your sales, updating the bills that you're going to be cutting, and the additional expenses that you may have right now. Tweak that and you can get a good picture of what's coming up. If you're on a spreadsheet with no kind of data or no accounting records previously, and you haven't done that yet, then you're not going to know where you're at. We have created a cash flow spreadsheet and we will be sharing that. That will be free for everyone, and it will just be a template that you can download, and you can basically put in your predicted income or your income that you know is going to be coming in, fill in your costs that you know are going to be coming out, put your starting bank balance in, and it will then create a cash flow forecast for you, and that will be weekly and daily. So you can have a look at it on a daily basis if you prefer a more granular approach, or you can look at it weekly and get a more kind of overview of this. And it's like just 12 weeks kind of looking in that advance. And you can add columns as you go. So that will be coming out soon as well for you guys. That's all going to be free as well. You can just download it and make a copy for yourself. Admin and data entry. So again, we've got things like, receipt management and getting that in using tools like Receipt Bank, form collection and data collection using Typeform, rather than, if you're sending out paper forms still for people to sign or anything like that, or to fill in when you're taking on new clients or whatever it might be, or getting even customer surveys, you can use Typeform for that, and it just does it nice and easy. Send it through a link. You can put it on your MailChimp or whatever, and it will literally just send that out, and they can then fill that in and you'll get a response back through. And MileIQ for tracking your mileage. Admittedly, that's probably going to be very minimum at the moment, with obviously lockdown and self-isolation and all that kind of stuff. But hey, when you are then going back to it, MileIQ is kind of like the Tinder of mileage tracking. You basically swipe left for business and swipe right for personal, and you literally just do that for all your journeys. It tracks you on the GPS when you're driving. It recognizes when you're moving fast enough that you are in a car, and you can then just say, right, okay, that's business, that's personal, and it will then keep all your business mileage, and you can then put that into tools like Xero, Receipt Bank, spreadsheets, whatever it might be, where you currently keep all your record keeping. Organization. So Calendly for using stuff like booking meetings in. This has been really useful for us recently as well, with everyone wanting to book in a call and have a chat. We can just send the link, they can book in a time that works for them. No one gets double booked. Everyone gets their own little slot then, and they can book in at times that work best for them. Google Drive, obviously, if you're using Google Drive and Google's G Suite and all that kind of stuff, that'll be there. If you're using Office 365, then you may have what's it called? OneDrive, and like the Google, all the normal Word and Excel and all that kind of stuff too. Both very similar in terms of holding all your documents. This allows our team remotely to access all our client documents, all our templates and working kind of stuff that we need, without having some kind of remote server stashed in the corner, linked up to the internet, relying on everyone being able to access that folder. It's in the cloud, it's done. We don't need to worry about it. It's perfect for remote teams, and it's probably the overall thing that keeps us up and running as a business, in terms of all of our client data is stored in there, and all in the file structures and stuff like that. And all of our team can then access that, and that's like our central point of where everything goes through. So that's really useful for us in terms of our storage for storing year-end accounts, payroll slips, all that kind of stuff as well. Notion is where we start building out our processes, start having a central place where we can, and we're pretty new to this. We've been using this recently over the last few months. This is basically where you can basically create handbooks, you can create sales pipelines in there, you can have marketing funnels, content calendars, like you can basically do anything with it. It's kind of like a Trello and Asana all in one, but it's not set up and ready for that. You've got to kind of you start with a blank slate and you can just start creating it. So really intuitive, but one of those ones where it's not ready out of the box. They do have tons of templates though that you can load up and have ready, and you can tweak them. So I guess you can get it up and running pretty quickly. But yeah, if you want to build everything bespoke, then it's a little bit of a setup and looking at what you want to achieve from it, and you can easily then create that in Notion. Payments and bank accounts and things like that. So obviously we're partners with Starling Bank and Revolut for business. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we don't get a kickback or a commission or anything on those. You just have faster onboarding, and Revolut, you get some of their paid privileges like bulk payments and perks for free on your free account with them. So it's just like a little bonus there, but nothing major on that side of things. No free money, unfortunately. Both really easy to manage a business from, especially in this time where you don't really want to be going into your local bank, or ideally anyway, with isolation and all that kind of stuff. So this is useful because you can literally just run your bank from your app. All your statements are digital, money's all digital, all just moves across. If you're cash heavy, you can still bank cash in through the post office and stuff like that as well. But for the most part, these work really well with businesses that are either service-based or they are very cash light, and they focus a lot on cards and direct debits, transfers, whatever it might be. TransferWise, great for foreign transactions where you're doing like one-off payments to suppliers, freelancers, whatever it might be. Revolut's really good for currency as well, but more like day-to-day spending. Still pretty comparable to TransferWise though, and you can send money one-off through Revolut as well. You probably don't need all three of these together. You can probably have two or three on that side of things. And TransferWise also has a card option where you can actually spend similar to Revolut and Starling. But I believe TransferWise isn't a fully fledged bank. So just something to bear in mind, it's like ring fenced by another bank perhaps. And Go Cardless, collecting direct debits and stuff. And this extends to Stripe and PayPal as well, giving your clients the option of paying you in alternative ways. A lot of places are doing things differently. They are, not accepting cash now. There is something coming in soon where the contactless tap is going up to £45 from 30, to kind of again eliminate the need for cash and obviously whole chip and pin kind of payments. You can just tap it at £45 now, and or soon anyway. That's not now, but it's coming in April, I believe. And so these are all things where you can kind of minimize the contact and cash and stuff like that. But even long term, having stuff like Stripe, PayPal, and Go Cardless puts you more in control and gives your customers more options to pay you, which is always a better thing on that side of things. Employees and comms. So we've talked a little bit about 15.5 already, so and Slack as well. So I won't go on too much about those. But Charlie HR, this is a tool we use, and it's where it stores all our employee data. So things like date of births, addresses, all that kind of stuff, but also when their reviews are up, how much their salaries are, when that's next getting reviewed, they're sick, their holiday leave, all that kind of stuff too. So it's just a nice central place we've got for everything there. Again, I believe they have a trial, and I think it's only £4 per user as well, like per employee that you have. So it's a very low cost option as well. There are some other ones as well, like Bamboo HR, Culture Amp, 7 Shifts, etc. That do various different things. And to be fair, there's a load of HR and employee kind of focused tools. We haven't tried them all, but these are ones that really work for us on those side of things. And it's about having app harmony. So basically, like we kind of touched on earlier, they don't all interlink, but having stuff interlink across your operations, your people in HR, and your accounting just makes everything a lot more easier, less data double entry, and less time you chasing things that could have been automated. These are some other apps that we haven't gone through today because they're not particularly relevant for like remote working, but they're still worth, if you're doing inventory for Unleashed, you've got a Shopify or Amazon account, and you need to get that information into Xero, you can use something like A2X, Pipedrive for sales funnels, those kind of things. You can definitely have a look at as well if they're applicable. And I'd say all of these are also remote friendly as well, on that side of things. So again, it's just having a look and seeing what works well together, what things are going well and working all in one place for you. And just know that no app is going to solve everything for you, but if it can save you some time on the long run, then that's going to be a win. It gives you that time back to focus elsewhere on the business, which may be really important during this time. So where can you find us? So thanks for joining so far. Obviously, Twitter and Instagram, you can find me on Ben Nacker. You can find Cone Accounting. Website is wearecone.com. We do have our coronavirus help center. wearecone.com/coronavirus. And we also have our Facebook group as well, the Cone community. So feel free to check out any of those. We'll be updating the coronavirus help center as and when we know more information as things change. But now we'll see if there's any questions at all. Obviously, like I said, a lot of the stuff for the government side of things we will be covering in our next webinar that's on Thursday the 26th at 2 p.m. So make sure you register for that as well. We'll also be recording that and sending that out as well if you can't make it. So let me just see if there are any questions at all. There's none currently. Let me just hold on for a minute or two just in case. I think, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's all good. So thank you for joining. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for watching the recording, if you're watching the recording right now. Really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully that was helpful to some extent as well in different areas of your business. I appreciate remote working works differently for depending on your size of business and what you've currently been doing, if you're new to it, if you're existingly already used to remote working. Hopefully there's still some kind of tips you could have picked up along the way as well. Ultimately, stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much, guys, and take care.